Okay, so the laser physics, we're just about to explain that one. I need to take a look at this because I don't remember the code exactly, but maybe if I don't explain this very well, then definitely pause the video and just see sort of the objects that I've added and the components to this laser. So the laser itself is just an individual game object, and then these two, all this is just two squares. So if I zoom in and just move this, you can see all the laser is just two image planes on top of each other to create the image geometry. So that's all that is. And then the main object itself contains a line renderer, which actually draws that red line around the screen. And obviously we've got the rotating the laser script as well, which I'll explain in a second. And the other thing is just a rotate script as well. And I'll open that one as well because the rotate script is just a separate script which I keep inside of my project here, and I just drag this onto any objects that I want to rotate. So the line renderer, yeah, we mentioned this one, so I'll just jump into the code here and show you laser rotating, and I'll try to remember exactly what's going on here. So alright, so let's go into update first. Set the forward position because the laser will rotate. Okay, so what we're doing inside of the update function here is we've got a laser here which is turning around, and the reason that we've got this forward transform here is we want to know which direction to point the laser forward, which would be if you're looking at it flat on in a 2D game like we have here, is the laser is going to be pointing in this forward direction. And as it turns, then the laser obviously turns as well, as you can see in the game. But what's happening is a raycast, an invisible laser is being shot. And what we're saying here, if physics.raycast means is we're shooting that raycast, that laser, and if it hits something, then we do this code here. Okay, so we're saying that we want to shoot from the position that we have now. We want to shoot from the center of this game object. We want to shoot forward. We want to shoot our laser forward in this direction. Okay, this invisible laser right now, it's not visible. And the raycast hit is we want to record the information of the object that was hit by this invisible laser. Okay, so if we're turning around and we're shooting in this direction and we hit a wall, then this raycast hit information here, this one up here, will record, okay, that was the wall that we hit on this update loop, okay? And then how far do we want this invisible laser to shoot, this raycast? And we want it to shoot for infinity, just continue going until it hits something, okay? If it doesn't hit anything, then this code will not be called, okay? So you notice in the game level, I'll show you the geometry here, I've surrounded the level in a wall so that the raycast always has something to hit. Because if it doesn't hit anything, if it just shoots off into the game world and nothing is there to hit, then it will never show that red line, because this code here, inside of this physics raycast, actually draws that line on the visible, draws the visible line that we see in the game. Okay, so once it's hit something, then what we do is we get the line renderer, which is here a component which is attached to the laser game object. And you can add a component by going to component, effects, and then line renderer. And you can add that to any game object. And all it does is it draws a line from point A to point B, and then to point C and to point B if you want to. But in this case, we only need point A to point B because we're just drawing a single straight line, not a squiggly line or anything like this. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is you need to say that there's going to be two positions. I think if you put this component into an object at first, this position's size will say 0 or perhaps 1. But you need to change that to 2 because we've got 2 points. We've got the starting position of the laser and the end point where it hits something, like the wall or the player or another laser. Okay? So what we do is once we've hit something is we set the first position, we set the 0 position first, which is the middle of the laser, which is the, as you can see here, transformed up position. I could actually make that a little bit better, I think. I'm going to change that right now. My transformed up position. There we go, just some optimization. I won't explain that right now. And then the second thing is it's got my renderer set position 1, which is the second position, which is up here wherever it's hit. And like I said before, we've collected the hit point information, the thing that it hit, and we want to get the raycast hit dot point, which is the world location of where that laser hit. So we've got the first position and the second position, and this allows us to draw the line, okay? Because it will always draw the line, but you just need to change the position of where that line is drawn every frame, which is what we're doing here, okay? And then for the character, obviously, if the character gets hit by the laser, what we're doing here is if this raycast hit, if this invisible laser information, if we know that it's hit the character, then what we do is we check is if the name equals character, then take that raycast, transform the game object that it hit, which is the character in this situation, and then send it a message to say, hey, you just got hit by a laser. And then in this case, it's this script that gets called here. And I think the laser function called, yeah, character hit a laser. This is the one that gets called, and then we're able to reset the character position and the timer, meaning that the character died, and we see this explosion splat of kind of retro blood, and then it resets to the start position as well. Because it's not a physics detection, that laser itself is just a script call. There's no physics involved. Okay. And the other point I wanted to mention is what I do here when I first set the line renderer is I change the use world space to untick, so that when the game object moves, it's a little bit of a pain, because the line renderer will how can I explain this? These positions here, when you set two positions, element 1 0 0 0 element 0 is position 0 0 0, element 1 is position 0 0 0. Inside of the editor, if you use world space, then it will always keep this component object in position 0 0 0, and as you move the laser parent object away, it makes it very hard to move, because the axes arrows will stay on this object or somewhere in the middle, and it's a bit strange. Give it a try. I'm sorry I can't explain it very well. But if you uncheck this, but then in the script you've got to change the world space to true, so that it can actually render this line correctly. So the reason that that's set to false here is just so that I can move it around the editor very easily without having to zoom out and then drag the arrow around. But then inside of the script I have to set this to use the world space as true. And then the last component is this rotate, which is just a script which I drag onto anything. And all I do is I set the rotation speed, the rotation vector, which means, am I rotating from this position here, this position, or am I rotating from this position, X, Y, or Z. And then on the update, we just simply, it rotates depending on which vector position you've set. So feel free to copy this code, guys, this code as well, of course. And then obviously, you can pause the video and see how I've created this laser as well. I hope that's useful, and please let me know if I've skipped over anything or made something not so clear or whatever. It's still early and my head isn't working quite well at the moment. So, all right. Anyway, next point. So GetBix says, "Hi Martin, hope you're doing well." I'm doing very well, thank you. The new levels are really cool. Looking forward to playing it. The anchor thing was great too and very helpful. Thanks for that. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad that worked. So some minor things which you can add as a power-up or in-app purchase is a slow timer, armor for 1 extra life, few seconds invisibility, etc., or just buy coins and etc. As just buying coins and completing levels won't make just stick to such an awesome level designing. Yeah, I think there's something I've considered as well, is definitely like things like invincibility, like sort of like in the Mario when you get the star, or Sonic when you get the stars. Slowing down the level timer, possibly having an extra life or some kind of recovery, maybe something like this. Definitely some items in the game that will make it more interesting. I've considered a gun as well. I'm considering giving him a gun and having some characters which shoot at you and you can shoot back, and then having the gun as an unlockable, but you don't have to shoot the gun yourself. You don't have to like tap separately. it would fire automatically within the area of an enemy, perhaps. So that's something I've considered, just because I'm wondering about how to include a gun in there, which might be good fun, because I think shooting up retro characters is a lot of fun. But definitely more power ups and more items are coming. But thanks for the feedback, and let me know what you think of this first version, GetBix. I want to know what you think, because obviously you've given a lot of comments, and so I'm curious to what everybody thinks. So next you said, also something which I noticed, the levels don't have the level number. Might be a small info to see. In your level selection screen, the level number 345, just go next pane. It would be good to see 1, 2, 3, then 3, 4, 5 below that. And the next pane, the remaining in the same manner. Yeah, so like we mentioned before, in this video is how to display the level numbers. I did, when I first started, and I think maybe you'd seen this in the videos, I put like the level 1, 2, 3, the actual number of levels inside of the level itself. So whenever you see the character he starts, he's next to a big 2 or next to a big 10, so you know it's level 10 and so on. But definitely the level selection screen needs to be better, because it needs to show what level it is. And I'm also going to be including world top times in that level selection screen as well. That's an update that I'll show you soon, and we'll see how it goes with that world top 10, the world top 10 times per level. And so the idea is that people will be able to send in their top time video of the game on YouTube, and then it sort of proves that the level was done, and then I'll also include a link from that world top time into YouTube. So let's say, for example, GetBix, you do the world's best time on level 17, and then what you do is you would send a video link to me and say, oh, I got the world's top time, and then I can see it, and I know it's real. And then what I'll do is I'll add your name in the level 17 top 10 player list, and then a link to your video as well, so that people can see it. And that's kind of it's an idea to give players a way to have a lot of pride in getting a top 10 score, because this is more of a hardcore focused niche player game. And the second thing is, players can then see videos of the game, which is very cool, and they can learn how did you get this top 10 score, and they can try and replicate that themselves, and try and do it. And the other thing is, it adds more of a sort of marketing or community to it as well. Is definitely having more YouTube videos available of the game increases the marketing exposure of the game as well. So and it also develops some kind of community around. So if you have a video on your channel of, your best time in level 3 or whatever, then hopefully that will generate some kind of comments for you as well, and then create a community around the game as well. So that's something I'm still thinking about, but if I do that, then I'm curious to see what times you guys get, because I think I've got some good times, but I'm yet to see how it does compared to everybody else. Sorry, at the bottom of this comment, would make more sense, super platformer as suggested below by Jamgrater. Seems good, as the game is definitely super. One more suggestion, you can add a health bar thingy just to make it a little easier for players. Yeah, health bar I'd considered as well. Maybe not. I'm not sure yet, because the levels are so short, and because you can repeat and come back to life and respawn very, very quickly. I'm not sure if we'll have a health bar in there, but I might have some kind of one-hit invincibility. Maybe. So, but definitely let me know what you think of the game now that it's live. So, Geeky said it was me who asked about the anchor button UI thing. Oh yeah, about the question, because I missed the comment before. I was doing it by raycasting from the camera and have an invisible plane with a collider on it in the middle of the world. The way you're doing it is easier, so thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I tried to figure out what you were doing here, because I'd read this comment a few days ago. The raycasting from the camera to an invisible plane. I'm trying to figure out what that means exactly, but I'm glad this worked out a little bit better. You could actually adapt the anchor scripts to be a lot better in that you could just create a script that you just drag onto individual game objects, and then what you could do is in the once you drag that script onto the game objects, then you see a list of variables, and it'll say like, oh, anchor this, and then you see a drop down of top right, top middle, top left, and so on. And then you can have an offset in the code so that it does drag it to that position, but then it moves it slightly out and down. So for example, if this is your screen here and you drag it to the top right, then if it was the top right, then the actual image would go outside of the screen because it would be in the center. So you could set an offset, an X and Y offset, so it just pulls it down and then in a little bit so that object stays within the screen space. It's something I was considering, but actually I don't think I need it for this game because most of the anchor code that you've seen before is already in place, and there's not going to be much more UI that I need to lock into the corners apart from the joysticks and the buttons. So, hey, but I'm glad that works. Thanks for letting me know it was good. Getbix said, thanks Geeky Me for asking the question. Even I was wondering how Martin got that working. Thanks Martin for sharing it with us. You're welcome, Getbix. I'm glad it worked out. I hope my code appears kind of. I'm glad my code appears useful to people and it works out. Sometimes I often think that when I see some other people's code, because I often search for how to do things in Unity and through like forums or Unity answers, and I always wonder if my code is good or not. But it seems that some of the code is very, very useful. I'm really curious, guys. The people that have watched this video and who make comments like Geeky and Getbix and Manuel and so on. Let me know, are you guys beginners or are you guys mid-level Unity developers, or do you have experience in other engines or different areas of programming? I'm really curious because I always consider myself a kind of, even now, I guess, beginner to intermediate level programmer, I guess, because there's some stuff that I look at in Unity and it just blows my mind, like in terms of the complexity and the technical side of it. A lot of it I don't need to know, and I probably would never will know because it's not necessary for me to know. I only focus on the things that I really need in order to build a game. I don't really care about how the engine inside works or how a game engine is built. It's not necessary for me to know. But I am curious, like what level everybody is on these videos in terms of like their game development experience or skills, or beginners, a few years, new to Unity. And it just kind of helps me direct these videos a little bit. So anyway, I'm going to cut it there, guys, because I've got a lot of work to do today, as always. But definitely, I'm glad to tell you that the game is now live for version 1.0. So do a search on Google Play on your device or on your web for 2D Platformer X, and I'll put the link in the description as well. Please let me know what you think. It's a big thing that I get this feedback from everybody because I'm really developing it for a niche market of players who really enjoy 2D platformer games, and it looks like you guys are that kind of the same player as me in a way, because I also enjoy these games. So, and I think I've mentioned all the points here. Yeah, is it too easy or too hard? The controls good or not good? All of that feedback is really, really good to know. For now, guys, though, have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments at all. Drop them down below. As always, please subscribe. Please like the video. That always helps. Please download and rate the game as well. Give a star rating because that's super helpful in ranking in the app stores as well. Have an awesome week, everyone. Have a great weekend this Saturday, Sunday as well, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Okay, bye.